Hello, puzzlers. We are here with you from Portland, Oregon with the Portland Jigsaw Masters individual finals event.
Welcome back. It all comes down to this.
It all comes down to this. This is what we've all been waiting for. Super exciting finals event. I'm Elenia Cater, and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Rob Shields.
And we are so excited to be here to bring you this finals event here today. Many of you have probably been with us through now 3 days of puzzling events. But if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're really happy to have you. And we're excited to get into this individual finals coming up here in just under 15 minutes. I guess just over 10 minutes to go, actually. It's going to come up real fast. As we do that, I don't know, we have some really great puzzlers to watch. Rob, I don't know if you want to just go through a couple of them that we have to watch coming up.
Well, I think we've got somebody who's looking to come up and compete. So let's go ahead and have that conversation because you may have some trouble slowing me down once I get started on who to look at.
Yeah, so we actually have a competitor joining us. So she I don't know, are you nervous? Are you?
I'm just here to have a good time.
Yeah.
I really don't do the speed puzzling much because my channel's the casual puzzler. So I'm just like the chill with a glass of wine with my cats type of puzzler. So to be in this type of environment is completely different.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. I am Emily. I have a YouTube channel and Instagram called The Casual Puzzler. I've been there for a few years now. And recently I went viral on Instagram, which was fun. And it's been a good time just like meeting people.
So going from the casual puzzler to speed puzzling.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, you can't call yourself the casual puzzler, you're in finals. And I was like, but that's not what I want to do. I'd much rather sit there with a cup of coffee and just like chill. So
How has this event been for you?
It's been so much fun. I feel like the vibe here is just so relaxed. Like just the music itself just makes it so much more exciting. And you're just like bopping to the music and singing, and it's not as like strenuous and like people telling you to be quiet. It's like a totally different vibe than say nationals, where it's just like very strict and rigid. So.
Do you find that this engages a different part of your brain than casual puzzling?
It does, because you really have to be in the zone a lot more versus just like tune it out. I don't know, it's just completely different. But also, I just like it. Like, and each puzzle's been very different. So you have to just think about it completely different too.
What are the kinds of things you cover on your channel?
I do a lot of puzzle reviews. I also do like puzzle vlogs of just like going through my life and such. Pretty much, I do a lot of different like challenge videos. So right now are doing like, it's called "Where in the World is Missy Piece" over my Facebook group. And so you're trying to find like something in the puzzle where like we're in the world, Carmen Sandiego style. So that's been really fun to do like different challenges that we're doing, and helps people like look at their collection a little bit more than just like, I don't know, it's fun.
So you were doing casual puzzling for a while, and then at some point you dipped your toe in the speed puzzling?
I dipped my toe actually at Nationals was the first like competition that I went to, just because I want to meet people. So I really go to them more for the social aspect than actually wanting to win. So it's been fun, just like the camaraderie and meeting people and seeing people who watch me, which I get so awkward in front of because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's actually real people. So it's been a really cool experience just to, there's this whole community of people, and they're all so lovely and welcoming, and it's just been great. So
Were you expecting that you might make it to the finals here?
I was hoping so. I went to like finals and nationals, which was a complete surprise. I got 33rd and ended 99th in finals. So I was like,
competition.
Yes, not last.
Yeah.
But here it was cool to be in finals for both pairs and individuals. And for pairs, we hadn't even puzzled together before, so we were happy with that.
How did you guys get connected?
She lives pretty close to me. We went to like a local, it's called The Missing Piece in Seattle, and they do like monthly different events, so we met through that. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And so how was your first time puzzling together? Did fairly well.
We did pretty well. She's definitely more of a sorter than I am, so I'm just like make piles and then I'll do it. And the last one, I loved that puzzle, but I'm not very good with patterns, and I'm much more of like the solid stripes, and she loves the patterns, so I was like, this is a perfect match, so it worked really well.
That's great. I love when folks have different capabilities on a team, and it really makes it obvious who's going to do what when you sit. As soon as you pull that puzzle out, you know where everything's going. No conversation needs to happen.
I know. She's like, I'm making these little piles if you want to do the patterns. I was like, absolutely not. So it worked out. But
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sitting down to talk to us right before you jump into another event. You go into finals, and have very good luck.
Thank you.
We'll be watching you.
Sounds good.
Yep,
good luck.
All right, we have just over 5 minutes to go before we kick off this individual finals here. And sorry, I asked you right before, but we'll get back into it now, Rob. Who should we be watching in this individual finals today?
Well, first of all, you should be watching the sharks, people who in shark costumes who showed up that we were seeing on the screen earlier.
Yes,
you gotta love a team who's not only has fans, but fans who are willing to go full on into the outfits and everything else.
So fun.
But I think that we're looking at a lot of the same folks that we were looking at in the pairs competition. We're looking at Andrea Peng, who was the first in her heat in a particularly more difficult heat, and she finished in her heat much faster than the average finishing time in her heat. And compared to everybody else and the heats that they were in, she had the highest ratio of her time to the rest of the pack. So I think she's clearly a person to watch out for. Sarah Schuler, obviously, going for the trifecta of first places.
No more second place Sarah.
No more second place Sarah, although she seems a little reluctant to take on first place Sarah as a title, but maybe the title that she deserves, not the title that she wants. But she finished first in her heat and second overall in terms of how she did relative to the rest of the pack of the folks that she was in. And then we have Jean Reuter. Reuter sisters always in contention when you're talking about something like this. She finished second behind Andrea. Andrea, that heat had a lot of heavy hitters in it. It had Jessa and both the Reuter sisters in it. And she finished, I think, third overall in terms of her like how she did versus the pack. And then Irina Shevchenko, she was first in her heat. She finished really well, and she was very fast compared to her heat's time, so I think that she's another one to watch out for. And then obviously Jessa Douglas and Kathy Reuter, both strong contenders at any time, and their heat, individual heat results bear that out. So I think those are the folks we're going to be looking at in terms of the usual suspects.
Okay, guys, looks like we're at the 5-minute mark. So if you can definitely find your table, that would be great. Have a couple of announcements to make here. We'll start that in about 2 or 3 minutes. So.
Okay, so you mentioned quite a few people that the avid puzzlers that are watching may be familiar with who are on the national scene, but the Portland puzzling scene, speed puzzling scene is quite strong as well. Yeah, we got a couple of folks that I'm really excited to see in the mix here. We've got Beatrice Endler, who was second, really close behind Sarah Schuler in her heat, and I think that speaks volumes. Now, I don't know, maybe you know this, but there was some rumor that Beatrice had seen that puzzle before, or done that puzzle before, and if that's true, you might need to discount her time just a little bit. But if it's been a while, like, you do get a benefit of having even just seen a puzzle, but obviously doing a puzzle. That tends to fade over time, so it's sort of handicapping her score just a little bit, but I think that she's definitely one to watch. Yep, so I would just say she did tell us she had seen it, but I don't think she had actually puzzled it. Great, okay, yeah, so I think that speaks a lot to her score then. I think that seeing the puzzle is one thing, doing the puzzle is a whole other thing. You get a certain kind of muscle memory when you do it. I find that even if I haven't done a puzzle in like a year, I still have a sense of kind of how things are juxtaposed.
Okay, guys, we're ready.
And here we go.
All right. Welcome to the final event of our inaugural Portland Jigsaw Masters. We really want to thank everybody for coming. Y'all made this event extremely special, and it's been a weekend to remember, that's for sure. This is the highlight event, in my mind, the individual finals. Today you will be putting together a 500-piece Portland puzzle, and I think you're going to like it. I do. I don't think it's too hard, and I don't think it's too easy either, but we're going to find out. Some of the best puzzlers in America are here, and we're excited to have everybody, and congratulations to everybody who made the final. I mean, if you make the final with this group, you have done something special. So you need to be proud of yourself. I'd like to support, the support of our sponsors. Again, want to make sure that we highlight everybody. Aurora Puzzles, Puzzle Republic, Completing the Puzzle, Jigsaw. They've been phenomenal this weekend, and appreciate your support for them. 2 more pieces I continue to mention. We got the final raffle that will be announced after the individuals. The raffle for the ALS, we've raised a lot of money. Thank you, all of you. We have 2 prizes left for that. And we still have some bundles for sale. And again, you can find that on Portland Puzzle Company website. And free shipping home, so you don't have to worry about trying to carry it home. Other than that, everybody ready? What we're going to do is, again, I think everybody knows the rules. Just want to make sure if you got a piece on the ground, nobody's here to help you. You've got to find it on your own. If you can't find it, there's only a 10-second penalty, so don't worry about that. I think that's it. Anybody have any questions? Okay, this is the highlight event. Let's get ready. So let's have a countdown. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, we get to see the Puzzle Shark supporters supporting Marissa out there. And again, my favorite is the broad shot of seeing everybody get their puzzles out, getting going. You can see that they open the bag or open the box. They got to get their puzzles out of the bag, and they got to make sure that the bag doesn't have a puzzle piece in it. Most people these days are actually pretty good at that, but it's fairly common, or it used to be fairly common, that you would find that you discarded your inner plastic bag only to find that there's a piece in it. So people are getting pretty focused on emptying that. Looks like we've got quite the colorful puzzle this time around.
Yeah, do you want to take a look at the puzzle they're putting together today?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we have this 500-piece puzzle.
Wow.
From Portland Puzzle Company. It is a very colorful puzzle. There's also a lot of dark blues and purples on it.
There are, yeah. There's a lot of texture though, which makes that not so bad. Like there's a lot of I think places you can get. I'm as a average level puzzler, the cluster of mushrooms or toadstools or whatever there gives me a little bit of a concern, but like there's a very obvious white stripe down the middle. There's color gradients around the outside, which is nice. The mushrooms are differentiated by color. There's the bus. I think there's a lot to get into here, which is great.
Yeah, so this is Mushroom Bus by Joe Reese, the artist. So yeah, excited to see how these puzzlers decide to attack this puzzle.
Yeah, I like that there's some dark spots, but they're actually attached to the edge, and they look like they have different patterns to them, which anytime you get something attached to the edge, you have fewer connections you have to make to them. And so it makes it a little bit easier if you've got like a sky touching the edge or this kind of black touching the edge if you got a little black on the bottom as well. Yeah, I think so. This will be a great puzzle.
Do you think that these puzzlers are going to start with the edges and put the border together first, or do you think this is a puzzle that might lend itself to a different strategy?
I do think that if it were me, I'd be looking at things like the big broad white stripe down the middle, the bus. Like those are things that seem like they would immediately stand out. There's some color sorting you can do in terms of like the orange on the underside of that mushroom there at the top that lends itself to being put together pretty quickly. So it's not clear to me that the edge is an obvious place folks will start.
We're looking at Beatrice here. She's one of the local Portland puzzlers who has really made a name for herself during this competition, and watching her sort her pieces and flip them.
Yeah, and there's Jean Reuter, one of the folks we expect to do well here.
Yes, her and her sister Kathy came in second in the duo finals that we just finished.
You see, she's doing actually a really great two-handed flip there. She's got both hands simultaneously finding pieces to flip over and doing them at the same time. Seems like a pretty obvious thing, but you can easily find yourself flipping with just one hand, and it's hard to get your hands to do two separate things at the same time. So she did a good job of spreading everything out so that you can get at all of the pieces. So they're not stacked. You see that this is Rose Robbins from Portland, and she's got things here in a pile, different approach. So that does mean that she's got to sort of sort through the pile, as opposed to just getting everything spread out over your table and flipping them over. If you have them in a group like this, it can be advantageous because you're more likely to be able to flip more than one simultaneously. So it's a bit of a trade-off depending on which thing works best for you.
Oh, and there's Jessa. It looks like she is maybe starting with that lighter area
Jessa
that you mentioned.
The big white portal. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, it's at the very least, there's a few things that lend themselves to being pulled out and grouped together, which is always nice.
Yeah, looks like
and that means that the stuff, you have fewer things left over to try and sort through.
Yeah, it looks like Jenna's taking a similar approach.
Yeah, Zin's got a lot of stuff right there, a lot of clutter right in the middle of the space, and some people are really good at being able to deal with that. I personally like to get things
out of
a little
way.
more, because not because it interferes in any sort of visual way. It's just more clutter to have to move around, and then at some point, if you're not managing it, and I'm sure she's going to do a great job of managing it because she's doing really well overall in this competition. You then have a bunch of pieces that are sort of get surrounded by other pieces, and now you're having to move pieces around and lift them up, and you kind of don't want to have to lift a bunch of pieces up, a bunch of random pieces en masse if you can avoid it, because that just means you're going to have to spend more time handling pieces. So like you can see, Becca here has cleared off her play space. She's got the things she's focused on dead center. She's got a pile to the right, which I can't really tell what that's all about. And then she's got a lot of the bright colored stuff off to the left.
The edges.
It's probably the edges,
It's the edges.
We talk a lot about sorting out the edges, that even if you're not going to do the edges first, the edges can be a great way of reducing the amount of pieces you have to look at. By pulling the edges out, you know roughly where they're going to go. You can easily identify them. Most people are used to sorting out an edge while they're flipping, and then you can either do them if you feel like that's beneficial, or you can set them aside. But now you see on her left, she doesn't have all of those pieces intermingled with these other pieces, which means that if she needs to find a certain kind of piece, those are more likely to stand out. One of the things that I think actually Becca is one of the people who is sort of, I don't know if she's pioneered this as much as she is passed this on to folks, which is like the progressive decluttering of the table area, where if you can get things out of the big jumble, suddenly you'll pieces that are of the same pattern will pop out to you. It's one of those things where it's easy to get overwhelmed by like I'm having that moment right now by looking at the bottom of the screen here. This is just like everything, right?
Yep.
But as you start removing pieces progressively out of that, other pieces that are all the same will have an opportunity to stand out to you. And you can suddenly go, okay, well, I'm going to take these 15 pieces that are all the same thing because now I see them. Now there's less competing for my attention.
Yeah, and we talked to Becca after her and Sarah took first in the duo finals, and she mentioned she really likes solid colors. So you can see that she did choose to start with what is kind of maybe a gradiated or more solid color area.
Right, it's definitely of a kind. That white is pretty standout, and it's pretty close to being a solid color. I don't know. What do you think about a puzzle like this?
I think it would be fun to do as a casual puzzler that I am. I do think it would be. I think honestly, comparing it to the one before, I could see, even though it's only 500 pieces, for me as a puzzler, probably taking about the same amount of time. I really do like those lines of color, the textures. Those are the types of puzzles that I'm drawn towards. And so I do think this would probably be a little more challenging for me. But also, I'm not timing myself. I'm judging how long a puzzle takes me by how many glasses of wine I'm having while I'm puzzling. So,
right. And it may not be that you're trying to do it in fewer glasses of wine.
Well, I don't know. Usually if I've had two, then that's time to call it for the night, and then it's a multi-day puzzle. So, but yeah, it's I think this is a really lovely image. And as you said before, it seems like there's enough texture and maybe enough color differentiation that it's not going to be as hard as maybe some of those purples and blues look at first glance, where it looks like maybe they're similar.
It's again, for a non-elite puzzler like myself, there's a lot going on here. You mentioned drinking a bottle of wine, and that reminds me of Ali Krasny, who is the one of the co-founders of the U.S. Jigsaw Puzzle Association. She has done some work. She's got a science background, so she did some work on trying to optimize her game by doing the same puzzle over and over again, more than 50 times, I think. And she kept track of the data, and she found that if she had a glass of wine, it noticeably decreased her performance.
That's not surprising to
So
me.
she's like, I now know that I absolutely cannot do that if I want to perform. She also found that for her, doing the edges substantially improves her times, or at least it improves her times enough that she always needs to default to doing that.
I love that. Being a complete data nerd that I am, I just totally love that. I think it was JD from Puzzle Sharks. We were talking to them as a team yesterday and talking about how, especially in a team puzzling event, everyone has different strengths and brings different things to the team. And one of the things they were talking about that I think it was JD, and I apologize, I'm getting the names confused, that he brings to the team is he keeps a spreadsheet for them of their puzzles that they've done, what they need to practice, and that really helps them improve as a team. And they ended up finishing, I think actually this is the team that finished 8th yesterday in the finals, which was great because a lot of the teams yesterday actually didn't even complete the puzzle. The second puzzle, I should say. Everyone completed the first puzzle, so everyone did get a win.
It was a delight to have the palate cleanser of the 300-piece puzzle in the team's event before getting into the, I'm going to say, complexity of depth of the second puzzle.
Yeah, so if you opened this box in a competition, Rob, and I don't think, do you do individual?
Not typically, no.
Okay.
I don't need an individual competition to tell me how I do. Our fastest puzzler on our team, Rachel Shields, does the individuals, and she's even mostly shooting for getting done in time, like before the time runs out. And so if she can't do it, there's no hope for me.
So if you were to open this in a pairs competition, let's say, which area would you be drawn to?
So I'm a bit of a masochist. I would probably start with the edges anyway. I'm sort of habituated to doing that, and I'm not intimidated by a solid color border. Which, not to say that that's a smart move. I'm just stubborn, I think is the right way of saying that. But if it were me, I would be leaning towards probably the bus is an area that stands out, at least the windows. Like there's some contrast there. I'd definitely be pulling things like we're seeing here, where the bottom of the mushroom cap is pulled out into a color. Whether or not I could assemble that, different story. So those would be kind of the places and I would probably start with the same thing that we see most people will start with. And you can see that almost nobody, in fact, nobody that I can see has started with the
border.
edge. Yeah. So the edge is not providing you a lot of information.
Yep.
The edge can be really great in terms of defining the size of the puzzle and giving you things like giving you anchors to build from. But it's definitely the case that if things stand out to you, you should start there, regardless of what you're used to doing. Like if you're like, I can put together that big horizontal portal, then do it. You want to make sure that you are flexible enough in your approach to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves to you.
Yep. So I love that we just saw Kathy Reuter, and now we're seeing Jean Reuter. You can see why they make such a great pair, because they have started with completely different sections of the puzzle.
Yeah. It's great to see the complementary skills sort of just presenting themselves right here on the table.
Yeah.
I love that the Reuters very famously a couple of years ago said that they would never compete in individuals because they were just an extremely strong pair. And when I first heard that they decided they wouldn't want to compete as individuals, I was like, oh, okay, well, they just like being together too much. And it turns out they're just too competitive. They're like, no. If we would trash talk each other, destroy each other, which is like, if you meet the Reuters, they're just extremely sweet, nice people.
Nicest people.
But so hearing things like that come out from them is, I think, amusing. But obviously, at some point they changed their mind because they're out here doing individuals. They did individuals, I think, at the last Nationals. So something changed their mind, and I think we're better off having two Reuters competing than we are having just them in pairs.
Here we're seeing Caroline Orsi. She looks like she started the border and then maybe abandoned it for that white light spot.
And this is like I was talking about. you be ready to pivot to new things. So she started off on parts of the border. If those things catch your eye and you can pull them together quick, great. As soon as you come to a stopping point, and it's sometimes hard to tell if you come to a slowing down, right? Because it's not, things don't immediately, you're not just going from full on to nothing. You're often going from full on to somewhat less efficient. You can usually tell. Then it's time to pivot and find the next thing. And for me, like, I will often start with something, like pull together an area like this portal area. And then if it slows down or I've come to the edge of it, then I'm off, like, just sorting the next thing that catches my eye and pulling those together. And I might not even do that next, but just going through and iteratively creating order is helpful when I'm approaching a puzzle like this.
And what you suggested doing here, where she had a bunch of pieces in her hand that she was working through, that's something you see quite a few of these really fast puzzlers doing, where they keep a lot of pieces in their non-dominant hand, and then they work through them. Yeah,
it is great if you can employ both of your hands in some way. Like I was saying earlier, it's sort of a brain bender, but using your hand as a tray is a pretty straightforward way of doing that.
Speaking of trays, so we were speaking the other day about maybe having one side dark and one side light, which would have come in real handy for this. So Zacco, if you're not familiar with Zacco puzzle boards,
I am.
They're they do custom boards.
We have a custom Zacco puzzle stand that we really enjoy. It has our Pears logo emblazoned on it.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
Fun. So Zacco actually reached out after hearing our live stream and said that they had actually made some custom puzzle trays for people going to competition actually this weekend, maybe in Massachusetts. And
yes, there's a Massachusetts
that one side was black and the other one was dark and one was light, precisely for that reason.
Yeah, I saw their boards. I didn't get to. I was watching a video kind of without any audio, so I didn't get a chance to catch. They're really cool looking boards, and like you said, they were black on one side, white on the other side. So I'm super eager to see what they have going on. Zacco, I think, does a great job. Amazingly friendly. They reached out to us, I think, like they had misprinted something of ours and they were like, do you want it? And sent it off to us anyway. So great to work with, great guys. If you ever see them at a conference, go talk to them, or a puzzle competition. They make quality things that I think we're proud to have. As part of I know my wife is like, she's always busting out that whenever we're just puzzling at home. So they make great stuff.
And also one of the sponsors of this event.
One of the sponsors of this event, that's right. Yeah, I was thrilled to see that. Like I said, they're great folks. Zach is a great guy. I love to see them involved in competitions like this. I don't, if you may have seen when we were looking back at Beatrice did a great example of the Mallory maneuver, where she had the whole stripe, the whole white stripe, and she picked up one end, picked up the other, and pulled them towards away from each other so that all the puzzles sort of locked up. Picked it up and moved it around. Yeah, that's so that she just moved that kind of middle area, and that's a great way of moving those pieces around. That's named after Leslie Mallory, a person out of Sarah Schuler's area, classic Minnesota scene, who popularized that. She's always quick to say that she didn't invent it, but she is the person who she feels like it's obvious that everybody would find it, but she is the person who sort of brought that onto the scene, shifted people from using spatulas, which people were using, and paper and other things to try and move large sections, to being able to pick up a section and move it. And I love that there's that option for innovation out there still. Like I one of the things that excites me is that at some point somebody's going to find, like they do in all kinds of sports, something that nobody has ever thought of to do, and then suddenly everybody's going to be doing that. And I'm looking forward to the next part of that here in speed puzzling.
Rob, I am learning so much from listening to you. How do you know so much about puzzling, speed puzzling in particular, but puzzling in general?
Yeah, it's helpful that I'm a serial nerd. I get really excited by things. And when my wife and I learned that speed puzzling was a thing just before Nationals in 2022, we'd always sort of been casually puzzling as a family. And I'd always sort of kept an eye on, like, how fast are we going? How fast did we complete that puzzle in? But we learned by reading a chapter in A.J. Jacobs' book, The Puzzler. Every chapter was dedicated to a different kind of puzzle. The first puzzle was Jigsaw puzzles. And he talked about his experience going to National and representing the U.S. because he was the only person from the U.S. at Nationals. I think this was in 2019. And we were like, wait, there's competitions in this, and we never made it to another chapter in that book. And we immediately started practicing for the nationals the next month, and we had a great time. We didn't necessarily perform all that well, but the community was great. We had a great time, and I have to say I was hooked at that point. So I'm one of those rare people who early on, we would go to a competition, we would compete and do our individual heats, and then there would be finals, which we wouldn't be in, and we would always talk about going in San Diego. We'd go out and move around the town, see what's out there, but we would just end up watching the competition the entire time, and we're like, biting our nails. It's like watching people compete, seeing who was going to win. So I just kept getting more and more interested in it, dragged into it. There's more opportunity for figuring out how to optimize things in individuals and team levels, so much so that I ended up starting a podcast. I actually was going to start it the first month that we got into this because I was just so excited by it, but there was rumors that other people who are more have much more exposure than I was were going to start them, and I was like, there probably doesn't need to be several speed puzzling podcasts out there, but they failed to materialize. So I have Peace Talks, which is my speed puzzling related podcast, speed puzzling and performance puzzling in general. And the goal is to just talk to the who's who of the speed puzzling world, whether it be competitors and how they got to where they are and how they maintain their routine to keep at the top, and how do they maintain their physical fitness, because surprisingly there's a physical fitness component to speed puzzling, and how do they maintain their mental fitness. We talked to a couple of people who are like, yeah, I got nerves right now. I've done this a bunch of times, but there's always nerves when you get started, so knowing how to handle that.
Handshake.
Right.
Not helpful for putting together a puzzle.
No, especially not. And then I'm also talking to folks who put on competitions like this, people who make puzzles for speed competitions, artists who are designing puzzles for speed competitions. It's really just an excuse for me to talk to the people who I think are doing amazing things in the speed puzzling community. So if you're a super deep puzzle nerd or an aspiring super deep puzzle nerd, I would check out Peace Talks anywhere you get podcasts, PIECE Talks, and on Instagram at peace_talks. Check it out.
Awesome. And this is a Portland puzzle that they're putting together. Portland Puzzles is one of the sponsors of this event. And they actually came together with Pomegranate Puzzles to create Portland Jigsaw Masters, both of those puzzle companies being located here in Portland, Oregon, which really has become something of a speed puzzling, dare I say, mecca? I mean, it's really become...
I know that Lane Weatherly, one of the co-founders of Portland Puzzles, is calling Portland the speed puzzling capital of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really amazing to see what they've been doing. If you're not familiar with Portland Puzzle Company, they actually came out of COVID, so they pivoted their printing business into made in the USA puzzles. So in addition to doing these lovely puzzles that are made by a lot of mostly local artists here in the Portland area, they also do custom puzzles. So custom puzzles make a great gift, so they also print those, but they are, make sure that it's really high quality and they can ship all over the country. But they also started doing these weekly speed puzzling competitions. So they have them if you're in the Portland area and you want to check them out. They're on Tuesdays. They have individual and pairs, and Wednesdays are teams. And I think that's you've been part of those, Rob?
Yeah, we've been part of those competitions really since before they got started in earnest, because they had when they decided they were doing puzzles, they were trying to figure out how to get the word out more about their puzzles, and so they were partnering with a local brewery on a puzzle that was related to a brand launch that brewery was doing, and that's how we ran across them. They had a puzzle, like some in their space, they did puzzles and beer, and so that drew us in, and we got started. And as soon as they started to do a weekly speed puzzle, because they had just extra room that they had unexpectedly. They had a person who was, I think, doing event planning who was going to take up some of the space in their area, and that person dropped out, so they suddenly had a space they needed to fill with activity. So they decided this was an interesting direction to go, and we were there from day one. it started small, and it is built really quickly to a pretty great regular community here in Portland.
It's amazing. And just maybe a few shots ago, we actually were seeing the progress that Becca has made.
Oh,
Becca Taylor, she had made quite a bit of progress, and she was part of the winning duo team, Sarah and Becca. And it's funny because when we were talking to her in the duos, she said she always chokes in the individual competition.
That's right.
But it actually looked like she might be leading the pack right now with the amount of progress she's made on the puzzles. So it'll be interesting. There's still a lot of puzzling to go. We'll have to see how it all shakes out.
This is Sarah Gelke. I keep saying this just because it's the fact that I have about her, and I think it's great. She's the Northwest Regionals Youth Champion, and it's good to see her in the finals here of the non-youth component of things.
Yeah.
She's competing as a full-on adult.
You know, Rob, I think that's one thing that has been so great to see here is the number of younger people competing. So in the last pairs, we saw a son and his mom. I don't know how old he was.
The Mitchell machine.
Yep, the Mitchell machine. Yeah, look at that progress Becca's
Oh,
making.
yeah, and that's a Zatco. I believe that's a Zatco puzzle holder, by the way. If not, it's very close to what they do.
Yeah, she's making really good progress.
Yeah,
I think stereotypically a lot of people think that puzzling's for, older women or, your grandma or things like that. But I think you can see just by the variety of people that we've seen during this live stream here. I know from the variety of members that we have at Completing the Puzzle, puzzling really is for everyone.
It is, and it is accessible to everybody. It is surprisingly, I guess, increasingly a young person's sport. Like, moving fast and having a brain that can do things quickly is a young person's game. So we're seeing a lot more young people out there. Notably, Alice Rowe was a 19-year-old who won the national individual championship this year. Just came out of nowhere, dominated both the individual speed puzzling, and the puzzle chess competition, which is fun. Well, maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we were just looking at Rose Robbins, who's a 19-year-old from Portland, who's one of the better competitors out of Portland as well. So it's good to see her making it to the finals here.
So puzzle chess, a lot of people maybe haven't heard of that term yet. Can you tell us a little bit more about what puzzle chess is?
Yeah, puzzle chess is sort of like it sounds. Actually, it's nothing like it sounds. You take a puzzle, usually a small puzzle, work with your opponent to build out the edges. So you connect all the edges together, and then you have a chess clock, which has a timer for both sides of both people. And some person starts, they hit the timer, the timer starts counting. They have until they have to find a piece and connect it to part of the puzzle. And then they hit the timer, and their timer stops, and the next person's timer starts. And it continues that way until the puzzle is complete, and whoever has the smallest amount of time at the end is the winner. There's Andrea. She's got the big portal, the bus, and some of the edge going on here. Yeah, and she definitely is. She'll pick up a ton of pieces and puzzle with the pieces in hand. And she's picked up a pile here, and so she's just sort of laying them out by color. We were talking earlier about using both hands. Some people have tried to varying degrees of success at being able to move both hands simultaneously. Like you can be placing one piece and picking up another piece at the same time, right? So you look at where the piece is going to go. You send your hand in that direction. You've worked on it enough to know that your hand is going to find that general area, and then you're picking up the next thing. But if you're not that kind of ambidextrous, engaging your other hand to do things like hold pieces. I know that some people will hold pieces on their open hand for, like, if they're in a team situation, to just kind of bring some pieces out in the middle that everybody can use. So the more of yourself that you can get engaged simultaneously in this, the better advantage you have, as long as you can do it quickly. Like, the struggle is if your brain is like mine, it can only do so many things at once, and trying to make it do more things may slow you down. So it's definitely a thing to practice and give it a try, but more hands is better. So while we're watching the puzzling progress here, Completing the Puzzle is a sponsor of this event and brings us the live stream. Tell us a little bit more about what Completing the Puzzle is all about.
Yeah, sure. So completing the puzzle was born out of a problem we had and that we found many other puzzlers have as well. So, what do you do when you're done with your puzzle?
Yeah, and we have a lot of puzzles. Like, we have a room that is just chock full of puzzles, and a lot of puzzlers do. And as a lot of puzzlers do, especially if you're doing speed puzzling, maybe you don't do a puzzle more than once. So it is a constant influx of new puzzles, and then deciding how to get rid of other puzzles. You got to find a puzzle swap or a willing recipient, and you can give puzzles to your friends for a while. But like when you're doing a couple of dozen puzzles a month, your friends aren't necessarily willing to take that on. So it's a big challenge, actually, if you're in the speed puzzling world, is what to do with all these puzzles that you're acquiring.
Yeah, so that's actually exactly why we started completing the puzzle. We didn't want to just have puzzles piling up in our closet. And so completing the puzzle is a puzzle rental subscription service. So we send you a puzzle in the mail, you do it, you send it back, and you get another puzzle. And we find that it's a really fun way to get puzzles. People look forward to getting those puzzles in the mail. We have a catalog of over 1,300 unique puzzles to choose from. So
blows my mind every time.
It's so much variety. So many different brands to choose from. We really focus on, a lot of smaller brands that people may not be as familiar with. We do have a lot of the big brands as well, but then really try to bring in a lot of those smaller, high quality brands, try to focus on made in North America, so that we're really getting high quality puzzles, and maybe puzzles that people wouldn't be willing to go out and buy if they're not familiar with yet, because they're at a maybe higher price point. So typically retail for $30 to $40, but they can try it, and then they may fall in love with a brand new brand.
Have you guys done wooden puzzles?
We have not.
That seems like a hard other place, but...
So there actually is a company out there, and I am so sorry, I'm blanking on the name. I'm sure someone in the live stream chat will have it.
You don't want to advertise your competitors?
No, I'm actually fine with it, because I find that people who tend to want and puzzle wood puzzles are a little bit different than people who do the jigsaw puzzles, the cardboard.
Definitely some crossover, but it is its own thing.
Yeah, and so I feel like they're fairly unique and different. And if I knew their name, I would be happy to share. I feel like that's also part of the jigsaw community spirit. But honestly, for us too, wood puzzles are really heavy, and to ship wood puzzles, true. I honestly don't know how they do it.
Wood puzzles are expensive to acquire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but for people who love wood puzzles, definitely look them up. I'm sure someone will post the information in the live chat stream. But no, we only do the traditional jigsaw puzzles, the cardboard, and we have anywhere from 250 to 1,000 piece puzzles. We are looking at expanding to 2,000 piece puzzles because we've gotten enough requests for the larger piece count. Yes. So we'll be looking at potentially expanding to the larger piece count in the future, which I think is also pretty interesting because those typically take longer to do. For some people, they actually do those pretty quickly, I think. Some of our members can complete a puzzle and send it back to us within 2 days, which is, I know y'all do your puzzles incredibly fast as well. Everyone here at the event obviously does puzzles incredibly fast. So we do see some really quick times. Oh, and here we're seeing Sarah's progress, I think, maybe for the first or second time. So she's made some really nice progress.
It was nice to see it on the back of Beatrice, who's doing actually quite well.
Yep.
But then you come over to Sarah, and you're like, oh, okay, Sarah's probably 30% farther along.
Yeah.
So can you get completing the puzzles anywhere in the U.S.? As you ship to the entire U.S.?
Any of the 48 contiguous United States. We have attempted to ship to Hawaii and Alaska, and unfortunately, it's just a little too long to make it worthwhile since
the time it takes to ship.
Yeah, ship time does make a difference for our members since it's a rental, and so it's just a little bit too long for them. But everywhere else in the U.S., we're shipping out of Dallas, so it's pretty centrally located,
right?
And it's a shipping hub, so. The ship times, we actually just moved our shipping operations to Dallas at the end of June. And we've seen that since we did that, the average ship time has actually dropped by a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting to see.
And you've moved to a new shipping container as well, right? A new envelope.
Have.
You previously had, was it compostable?
Yeah, the one we had before was a compostable poly mailer, but it only got an out and back use. So we really only got one shipment out of it. So we actually moved, my partner in business and life reminded me that these are actually made from recycled PET.
Oh.
So it's recycled plastic, which is really
Yet
cool.
another level of environmental consciousness.
So we've actually moved to these. I'm like, where's the camera? These new reusable mailers. So they should get 40 uses or so. They have a zipper on the top and a nice little plastic slot in the front for us to put the label in. So when you get this, you take your puzzle out, you do the puzzle, you put it back in when you're done, you put your prepaid return label that comes with the package right in there and ship it back to us.
Zip it and ship it.
Zip it and ship it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. Yep, zip it and ship it. So yeah, we're constantly trying to find ways to make everything more sustainable, make the experience better for the customer through even changing our warehouse location, changing the packaging. That's kind of part of who we are, and we really listen to our customer feedback and try to make the puzzling experience better for them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and if anyone has any brand recommendations too, that's my favorite part of the job. I get to puzzle test, taste test the puzzles, if you will.
That seems different.
So making sure that the brands that we carry, we believe are up to the standards that our members would want to see.
Look at Kathy go. So we're starting to see people get a solid chunk of this puzzle fleshed out. We're seeing a lot of the kind of stripe in through the bus. I like that the way we've seen a couple of people assemble them. It looks like the bus is sort of like flying out on this kind of portal. So that's always fun.
It seems like that has actually been a pretty consistent strategy throughout a lot of these puzzlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all these mushrooms off to the either side are definitely people are holding off on those for a while. We're seeing them put together the kind of underside of the mushroom cap, the big one, but not as much as putting together the purple on top. There's a lot of other purples in this particular puzzle, which might compete for trying to figure out where they. And contrary to what I was just saying, there's somebody who's got it all the way done. It's nice that it connects right up into the edge. So, and there's actually not that much between the edge and the orange part. There's only one layer there, so that actually comes together pretty nicely.
Yep, and so
is this Jean?
We're looking at Jean here, and she has quite a bit done. I think Sarah is actually leading the pack right now, so she might break her second place Sarah here.
Yeah, she's going to have to take on a new moniker if she does this, so she should keep that in mind of whether she actually wants to win or not.
There's Arena, also with that mushroom.
Yeah, and she's sorting through the edges to find specific pieces to fill out the thing.
What do you think of that as a strategy, Rob?
I think if you are hunting for a piece, you're not in the best place. Now, again, take everything with a pound of salt when I say it, but I find that for myself, in any case, when I'm hunting for a piece, and it looks like she grabbed a whole set of pieces, which is what I should expect from a person of her caliber. I'm sorry, Irina, projecting too much of myself into what you're doing here. But when you're hunting for a piece, you're probably in a bad place, right? Because usually you want to let the puzzle speak to you and capture things in groups, just like she did, and put them together. And rather than trying to hunt for, like, you can see she's got some gaps in the edge, and that's perfectly fine. Like you could say to yourself, well, those should be easy to find, and that's definitely something we say on our team a lot. Is that that should be easy to spot. But in fact, it often isn't, and you don't want to spend time there. You want to spend time where you can do things right now, and that will reduce the amount of visual clutter. You'll find those things as they come later. So nothing wrong with leaving gaps like that.
Yeah, and I was just impressed. She grabbed all of those, and look at that chunk at the bottom.
Yeah, you see how fast that came together?
It came together so fast.
Yeah.
And we thought she was just pecking and.
Yeah, again, I should have known better, but good on her for proving me wrong live.
And now we're back on Sarah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I sort of expect Sarah to be a little farther along. Not that, compared to other folks that we're seeing, she's sort of on par, and she's a fast puzzler. I expect her to do well. Maybe I'm just over analyzing here because she's got a lot of the green being formed here, so she's actually doing fairly well. I mean, she's doing amazingly well.
So having spoken to her, though, about the types of puzzles she really likes to do and excels at, where would you say this fits for her?
Yeah, this doesn't speak to what I know her skills are. Especially, there's a lot of she does like a lot of finicky detail, but this feels like the wrong kind of finicky detail. We can see her sort of hunting here a little bit. Like there's a lot of things that can go into a lot of different places, and so. It's not as well defined like patterns we were seeing in the last in the duos final, where there's very obvious sets of things that go into places. So here there's a lot of colors that could go into a lot of different places, and so it's finicky, but not necessarily in a lots of small pieces, lots of small areas of focus sort of way. Love those tights. Yeah, here's Min Yi, and like we were talking about before, she partners with Jessa, and when we had a chance to talk to her, she was talking about feeding the Jessa machine. But she is no slouch on her own. She's right there with everybody else in terms of what she's got blocked out, and quite a bit more, I think, of maybe the lower right than we've seen of a bunch of other people.
Yeah. It's so interesting to watch the different puzzlers and their strengths and how they, certain ones gravitate to different areas, and it does make it challenging to see maybe who is in the lead, comparatively, because they have different parts of the puzzle put together until they get a little further along.
It's a little easier this time around than it was. Oh my goodness. It was a little easier this time around than it was last time, where there were very obvious things that spoke to very specific strengths that people have, like patterns versus color block. And so people sort of divided and conquered in the duos and went at it. And so we saw, I feel like maybe the Reuters had the middle all complete, where other folks maybe, the Reuters, anyway, some people had all of the colored stripes around the edge complete, and then other people just had the patterns down the middle. And it was sort of hard to tell who was doing what. But in this case, you're seeing a lot of the same approach.
And sorry, you said, oh my God, you were impressed by the amount of progress she had made since we saw her last? Yeah. I mean, it really does seem like she was maybe plodding along a little bit, and then all of a sudden it started really coming together for Andrea here.
Yeah, you can see I get really excited about it. I mean, this is why I'm continually involved in things like this, is because I was like, oh wow, this just made so much progress. And this happens a lot, where you see somebody who maybe is pacing at something that doesn't seem all that fast, but the way that they do their puzzles, where they are fast comes out at different parts of the competition. So I know Andrea has said that when she prefers to do larger puzzles, so she's a more of a 1,000 puzzle sort of person, and that gives her the opportunity to do a lot of upfront planning, and that upfront planning, like really studying the picture, like you see her doing there, like that upfront planning makes the end of the puzzle more efficient. And you see other folks like Tammy McLeod, who's likes to sort things up front, and that kind of organization makes it look like they're going slow, and then they just come, all of it enables them to speed through the tail end of the puzzle. So that's why I was suddenly surprised, is like we'd seen Andrea a little earlier and she was doing great, but compared to the other folks that we were seeing, it just seemed like she had a whole lot more done than I was expecting. And we got Zinpua here, another Portland person, doing a great job as well. Speaking of Portland people, and speaking
Beatrice,
of having more done than I was expecting, there's Beatrice.
It's really coming together.
Beatrice Endler knocking out the main sections and a great part of that mushroom, and kicking out that right-hand side.
And we have another guest. So we have Jessica joining us from the Puzzle Republic. Hello.
Hi, friends.
Hey, Jessica.
How's
How
it
are
going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. How's day 3 going for you?
Day 3 has been fantastic. Luke and I competed this morning.
We saw. We called you out with all of your beautiful gear. Yeah, so for puzzlers out there watching, where can they get some puzzling gear?
All the puzzle merch is on our website at thepuzzlerepublic.com.
Yes.
We've got a full shop, lots of options, everything from clothing to Christmas ornaments and wrapping paper and backpacks galore.
Yeah, we saw you guys merchandising your things in the
Yes.
middle of the competition.
Yeah, very subtle, right?
I'm just going to take a drink from this branded drink.
This just happens to be here.
Well, I know that you sold my wife on a couple of hats as she went by, and she's not a hats person, but she was like, I have to have these.
Converted
and
her.
We've seen a great number of the of tights out there from you guys, and they make a great colorful splash. It's a great way of not so subtly announcing a passion that you have.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I'm wearing yours right now, which obviously no one can see since I'm sitting behind a table.
You guys are sort of twinning.
Yeah, I'm very, very picky about my leggings. Because I'm obviously you never want ones that are too thin, that are gonna be kind of sheer in the back.
Sure.
Any woman out there probably knows this pain, and I am so impressed by the quality of your leggings.
Aw,
So
thanks.
just shout out if you're out there and you're wondering if you're purchasing online. That's definitely a concern. Not a concern with your leggings.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, they're certainly very soft. I think that's like my favorite part about them is they're so comfy.
Yeah, and great for puzzling in because they're comfortable.
Great for puzzling.
They stretch,
Long
they
hours of
move.
puzzling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're
Flow
really
with
great.
you.
I love that wherever you guys show up, like especially if it's a multi-day thing, then like the next day suddenly you see everybody in
I know,
like brightly
gosh.
colored puzzle tights and shirts and hats and things
It's
like that.
so fun for us. Yeah. I think maybe that's why I made them so bright, so I could easily tell who's wearing them.
I'm just looking around the room and I'm like, oh, there's somebody
know.
with some
There's
puzzle
some-
tights. There's somebody
Well,
with some
there's
puzzle
some
tights.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, Minnie, and she's making great progress.
she is. The right side of the puzzle is coming together for a lot of folks. Everybody's saving that jumble of smaller mushrooms towards the end. You see folks like Kathy here who've got like little bits and pieces of that. But that looks like that left-hand side is going to be a challenge for folks.
So we've seen you puzzling. What would you think if you had to puzzle this puzzle, Jessica?
I think I would be doing exactly what they're doing. Get the big chunks out of the way, like the mushroom and the vehicle itself. And even those like yellowish greenish areas are pretty clearly defined, but it's going to be that dark section to the left that I think everyone's going to save for last.
Were you guys originally intending to compete this weekend, or
No, originally just for the booth. We actually didn't even mean to compete in pairs.
Accidentally
but, yeah,
competed?
accidentally competing and accidentally qualified for the finals too. So that was cool.
That's so fun. Do y'all puzzle together a lot?
Sometimes. I'm the primary puzzler
Yes.
of the marriage,
Yes.
but Luke will pop in every once in a while and he'll do a puzzle too, and that means I have to clear my puzzle off the table for him, of course.
Brian and I are very similar. So I'm the primary puzzler, but we call him my assistant. He pops in and he's like the letter specialist. So if the puzzle has words or
Oh,
something,
interesting.
he immediately gravitates towards the letters and puts the words together.
Oh, cool.
And we use puzzle sorter trays, and he'll take those and he'll pull out a tray and just work one single tray.
Yeah.
So I call him my puzzle assistant.
Nice. Yeah, Luke will come in and he'll pop in a piece, like a very specific piece in a specific location. He likes to call it sniping. Yeah, just snipes it in.
Yeah. Was this your first time doing a puzzle competition?
I competed in pairs at Nationals in San Diego. That was I've been doing the Orange County speed puzzling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's a smaller group, but the first actual, sanctioned one where you get scored and all of that was San Diego Nationals.
You think you'll keep speed puzzling?
I just might. Yeah, it's quite a high.
Yeah.
It was a very fun rush, yeah. And it's just fun being out there on the floor with everyone and hearing all the murmur, and you can kind of tell when someone's about to finish because there gets to be a little bit of a buzz towards them in the room. It's exciting.
Yeah, and when somebody does finish, then the excitement level ratchets up for a little while in the room.
Right, yeah, then there's pressure for everyone else that's close.
That's right. So it can be both intimidating and exciting when somebody finishes because suddenly everybody's like, oh, okay, well, now we know we got to get moving.
Right.
Do we have any guesses on finishes here? Because we're already over 45 minutes in. And
Yeah, it feels like you easily have 15 more minutes plus to go here. So
yeah.
I think everybody's saving that left-hand side for last, and I think that's because it's gonna be relatively slow,
Yeah, it looked like Becca had definitely slowed down.
which means that you can 100% bet against me that that's going to be the case. I want to continue my tradition of being exactly wrong on how these things go.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I guessed 37 minutes, so I lose.
Well, I appreciate your optimism.
Did you know it was going to be a 500-piece puzzle?
I did, and I don't know why I thought that they would crush it so quickly, but I guess I didn't take a close enough look.
Yeah, this puzzle looks pretty challenging. I'll be very interested to hear what they have to say when they're done.
Yeah. Oh, Jess is doing great.
Yeah, she is doing great.
It's
Yeah,
wild how quickly their hands move.
I know. When
Just
you
as-
watch them flip the pieces at the beginning, that's
Oh,
what I
is that
love.
fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some of them move so fast. Sorry, Rob, you're going
I
to
was
say.
just going to say, Jess is one of those people, if you ever get a chance to talk to her, just brings light into the room.
Completely.
She's just fun to talk to. She's always upbeat. She loves to meet everybody. She's one of those people I'm like, you're a great person to be in this puzzle community. I appreciate
Yeah.
you there.
She's as bright and vibrant as that shirt she's wearing right now,
Yes,
isn't she?
true.
Definitely. Our Uber canceled on us this morning. We were waiting outside the hotel for it, and she had her minivan and was on her way here. She was like, hop on in.
That's awesome.
We all piled in, yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was great.
So we got Jessica Chow here making some progress. She's got a sorting board up there.
Oh, yeah.
Can't quite see what she's going on. Looks like some yellow pulled out onto the sorting board. Love sorting boards and hate sorting boards. Like they're great ways, especially if you're doing larger puzzles or you have a lot of people, a lot of hands. They're a great way of getting some pieces up and maybe stacking a few boards on top of each other. But especially in tight quarters, which we're blessed to have a whole lot of space around the tables
That
here.
was awesome.
But at Nationals, for example, the space is at a premium. The tables are really close. And so when we did teams, which was Rachel Shields, myself, and the Robbinses, so Leah Robbins, who's not competing in this round, but Rose, who is, the mother-daughter team, we all competed together and we busted out those trays. We put some things together, and then you have cameramen walking by and volunteers walking by, and every time they do that, you've got like a bunch of pieces sitting right on the edge, and you're just kind of holding on the table and being like, okay, we're trying to get this puzzle done. They go, please don't hit anything, so they can add some stress. And I have heard a story or two of people having their puzzle trays jostled by people walking by, so you have to sort of be careful with that.
At home, I am 100% a tray user.
Same.
Because I sort into them, and we have not a huge space to puzzle on, and it makes it much easier to have those trays. So definitely, I think I've mentioned to you, Rob, already, but we actually created our own trays because I hated the trays that they took up so much space.
Yeah.
And so ours are hexagonal, so they kind of like, if you're using multiple ones at once, they fit into each other.
I like that.
Yeah.
Stackable.
They're stackable, yeah. But I'm a major tray sorter person.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I really appreciated and felt spoiled with here with the setup is that you had the entire 6-foot table, and I almost didn't even need trays because I could just section it out and shove them to the side.
Right. Yeah, it's a great thing about having a venue with a lot of space and a lot of tables is that you can allow people the space to do things. I know that in Worlds, I think they're doing like pairs like they did at Nationals, split tables, and that can be quite challenging. I heard a rumor that, and I think they immediately got backed off on that they might even try doing maybe teams, but like just competing for space.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I think that they I'm going to get this wrong. Don't take any of this as for real. But you can imagine that like having a lot of confined space and trying to get more and more people into the same space as the popularity of speed puzzling happens. And at Worlds, like they're already doing heats and heats and heats and heats.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a trade-off between trying to get more people into a venue and trying to not have them be there as long. So you can imagine that they would be considering trying. Okay, what if we take it one more step farther? But I don't think that they're doing that this year. That would cause riots in the streets.
Thanks for joining us, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And don't forget,
Bye,
go
guys.
to thepuzzlerepublic.com if you want to check out all the puzzle accessories and gear you could ever want.
Yes. Oh, and puzzle libraries. We have a whole network and
right.
database. You can put in your zip code and find a library near you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to see quite a few people finishing around the same time. I don't know. I could be really wrong here, but they keep flipping to these different tables and different competitors, and a lot of people are coming in real close.
Yeah, we're getting right down to it.
We've got,
Go ahead.
we've got Brian joining us, who's been out on the floor. I'm curious what he has to say.
Yeah, how's it going out there, Brian?
Hey, I just want to give you an update. It's going to come down to the wire. There are about 10 people that are all pretty neck and neck.
Oh my gosh.
There's this darker spot that you see everyone kind of struggling with, and they're on. Beatrice, Portland native, is looking pretty strong. The puzzle twists, the stripes, they're doing really good too. This is going to be a fun one. This is coming down to the wire. This is going to be exciting.
All right, we heard it from the floor.
Thanks for having me.
No, you can stay for a minute. I'm not.
I thought you were kicking me out.
I'm not kicking you out.
It was good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me. And did you guys get a shot of the puzzle sharks?
Yes, we did.
The actual sharks?
Yeah, the sharks. And
there are sharks here.
Yeah.
Where did they go? Oh, there we got one over here.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Here's Andrea. She has a bunch of pieces it looks like she placed but aren't connected yet in that one section. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt her.
So Andrea is actually reasonably well known for what I call dead reckoning, which is the ability to know exactly where a piece goes. And this is part of like she studies the puzzle, and then she has the ability to kind of commit things to memory as to where they go. And she will put a she'll put a piece right where it goes. I mean, I do approximate things of that, but she will actually be able to put many pieces right where they go and then build out on that. For most people, most regular humans like myself, that is not necessarily the best strategy because it starts cluttering up the playing field. But if you're actually good at kind of keeping track of where those pieces exactly go, you're good at placing them, then you can actually use that to say, okay, well, I know this piece goes here and this piece goes here. That opens a shape gap between those two pieces, so I can go looking for that shape and start building on top of it. So it has some advantages. It has some pretty substantial drawbacks, so don't try this at home. Or do. It's just jigsaw puzzling. You're not going to get hurt. But it's one of those things that a very few people can do well.
Did you come up with that terminology?
I have called it dead reckoning. I think that's regular terminology and other things, just knowing, being able to navigate based on what you know about right where you are, I think. I didn't feel like I was coining anything by saying that, but it seems to be unfamiliar to folks.
And here's Beatrice that Brian just mentioned, making great progress.
Yeah, looking at that right there, I think she's slowing down a little bit. And
Beatrice?
looks like one of the Reuters or Andrea. I think Andrea is furthest along now.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like Kathy's just got that lower quadrant to go. The deep dark purples. This is really what separates the elite folks from regular folks, is that I look at that kind of jumble of kind of dark purples and oranges that whole section is collected of, and I'm like, oh, good. How am I ever going to get through this? And then somebody like Kathy's like, okay, well, I can put those parts together. I can see where those pieces are. And here we are looking at Jean doing a very similar thing.
My secret for getting through those difficult parts at home is stopping and letting Elena finish.
It's a great strategy.
He's not wrong.
And magically it completes itself. It's great.
It's completing the puzzle.
Exactly.
It's magic, also known as Elenia.
We have a person on our team, Tiffany Scott, who is she's really good at clustering, and we saw a little bit that when we were just looking at Jean a second ago. Is like just not necessarily putting things in the puzzle, but like just recognizing which pieces are sort of adjacent to each other and assembling those, and then that creates these little kind of units that you can pick up and join into bigger units. So if that's a skill that you have, that is another way of approaching the puzzles, is not necessarily starting with big picture things, but starting with just a collection of things that you're pretty sure go together. It's another one of those things that is a particular skill. It can be really slow for some folks, but if you have that skill, it's another way of approaching a puzzle.
I think Kathy may have a few less pieces than Andrea.
I think that's right.
I think
it's
so,
possible
too.
that both the Reuters are ahead of Andrea at this point. I like that Andrea's got a bunch of the red that go on the kind of under the cap of the mushroom set aside across the top.
Yep.
But she hasn't endeavored to kind of actually place them in that area yet. So
There's Jessa.
She's thinking, I'll get back to this later.
Yeah. I wonder how Sarah's doing. We haven't checked in with her in a minute. She was making a lot of progress early.
Yeah,
think
but then I think she slowed down
definitely
once it
slowed
got out
down.
of the area that was really in her wheelhouse. There's Beatrice again.
Yeah, you see there's a lot of the same kind of cut piece there. Like over right by her leg there, there's the kind of 4 outs pieces. And I find that kind of challenging when you get to a puzzle that has a lot of the same shapes or repetitive shapes. Some people love that. But when you combine that with a lot of similar colors, it makes it really hard, at least in my opinion, to figure out what goes there. This is where you could end up with, like, if those were black or the very similar color, you have 4 pieces in your hand, you have 4 slots for them to go to, and you still have to like do a whole bunch of work to fill those 4 spots. Whereas if they were a bunch of different shapes or they were a bunch of different colors, they would obviously suggest themselves as to where to go.
Yep, and shape sorting isn't going to help.
Now look at how fast.
Yep.
This is Kathy, I think. How fast her hands are moving. Like she's not even like she's
Kathy's
definitely
closing
placing.
in. She's
but her hands are just moving fast, and that's another thing. Like if you can just keep your hands going, that can be a great advantage. Now,
we're
if
going to see a finish here.
Yeah, if you're like me, your hands moving fast aren't going to help you if your brain can't keep up. But if your brain's fast, having fast hands is definitely.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
This
Here
we go.
Cool. I'm so excited for her. Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh, look how excited she is. Yay.
Nice job.
Reuter's sister, Kathy.
Oh, and her sister
Congratulations.
just fist pumped. You couldn't see it on the screen, but her sister did fist pump while she's continuing the puzzle, which
And
is
she
really
actually
sweet.
might come in second.
She really might.
Yeah.
Yeah, she might.
Yeah, in the puzzling community, you will usually see. Here we go.
Oh,
with the
that's
lift.
so
pretty.
pretty.
Oh, yay.
Yay.
Beautiful puzzle.
Yeah, and well done.
Under an hour.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So here's Jean.
That's a very
Yep.
strong
Right on her heels.
Yep.
BPM.
Here's Jean. Yeah. Here's Jean
I would
coming
love
in.
a Reuters one too.
I think it's gonna happen.
Oh, Reuter 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh, the powerhouse.
I mean, they are a powerhouse for a reason.
Yes.
They're strong as a pair. They're also strong individually. So it's great to see them. Like we were talking about earlier, it's good to see them sort of breaking out and doing things individually as well as in pairs. And there's nothing better than watching the end of a puzzle and
I
just
know.
people getting those in place, and then being done,
Completing that puzzle.
completing that puzzle. Is she a table banger? A lot of people like to bang the table when they're done.
Yay.
Yes.
Reuters 1 and 2. It's so cool.
Nice job, Gene.
Oh, that was so awesome. All right, thank you for having me. I'm going to jump off.
Yeah, thanks
Probably
for
get
joining
one
us.
of the Reuters up here.
Yeah, we'll see
Awesome.
you later.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian. And doing the classic puzzle lift. I want to see her toss that to her sister. I didn't even know that was possible until I saw something on the Portland puzzle on their Instagram reels. Some people were tossing puzzles like that across to each other.
Oh, and here we see Jessa.
Okay.
Jessa's closing in too.
She is closing in. And it's interesting because they save this area for last, and it is a lot of kind of jamming things in there. But we're also seeing them come together fairly fast. And some of that is like you've eliminated a whole bunch of the rest of where that they could go, so there's not a lot of options. So that's one reason that you can save those kinds of things to last is that if you can't figure it out right away, once you only have 12 pieces left, they become more clear as to where they are. As long as when you have like 30 pieces and you're still trying to figure out, it's a little more challenging.
Here's Andrea again.
Yeah, again, look at how fast her hands are moving. Try, move it, try, move.
And here is one half of Twinsanity, who came in third in the duos.
Yeah, she's doing great too.
Yeah, first time ever in a live puzzle competition.
Up from California.
Yeah, look at Jessica go.
Oh, there's Sarah.
Yep.
Yeah.
She definitely slowed down.
Yeah. So all of those little fiddly bits, like I said, are not the right kind of fiddly bits. They're really, it's a much more complicated, confusing set of places to put things.
Yeah, and I don't know who is going to take third. It looks like Jessa is really close to finishing.
Yeah.
Andrea and Jessica that we were just watching, all three of them look real close.
Yeah, I'm looking out. I see Beatrice she's probably got a little ways yet. She's probably about where Sarah is.
Yeah, Jessa looks like she maybe only has 20 pieces left. She looks really close. And then Andrea looks like she's done. She almost done? 5 pieces maybe? It's hard to see.
Yeah, so the Reuters finished 1:14 seconds apart.
Yeah, I can't tell on Andrea.
Yeah, she definitely has got a lot of hand movement going on there, so looks like she might be right on the edge here.
Yep.
And we got a lot of
going
volunteers
on.
with their hands up out there.
We've got
People who are about to be
working
done.
hard trying to catch these for y'all watching
Yeah,
it.
looks like we're heading over towards Jessa, but it looks like I don't see a lot of pieces with Andrea, and she's got that kind of frenetic movement that you have when you're down to the last few pieces.
Yep.
So we down to the wire here with, I think, Andrea and Jessa.
Yep. Oh, I think Jessa.
Well, I think Andrea has
They have
slightly
about
fewer
the same.
pieces. Yeah. I think
This is close. Oh, I think Jessa's maybe close. Oh, and there's Jessica from Twinsanity.
yeah, she's right up there.
Yeah.
I think
Wow. Look at that.
her hands just aren't moving as fast as everybody else. So
No.
here we come. Jessa's coming right down to it. Oh, and Andrea is speeding along.
I think her remaining pieces are further away, so it's gonna.
Yeah, and
and there's Jessa.
Done.
Great job.
Nice job, Jessa.
Great job, Jessa. I think we're.
Yeah, Andrea's doing her last few, and
then Jessica
Jessica
look
here.
Coming out of nowhere. First
Yeah.
puzzle competition. What a strong performance.
Yeah, I really love that.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, great job.
Andrea finished.
They finished. They might have had a tie. That was incredible.
Is that right? Did
think they-
Jessica finish at the same time?
I mean, it looked like they were almost
look at that.
dead on.
I was too busy watching one and not the other.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been a dead tie. We'll have to see what the final scores that come in are.
Well, that's really exciting. I mean, this is exactly why watching jigsaw puzzling competitions is more exciting than people think. Like, it really comes down to it.
Yeah.
A lot of variables in play. It's not the case that somebody who's dominant in one competition is going to be dominant in the next competition because the puzzle matters. And so there's always an opportunity for surprises and just getting down to the wire and watching things happen in real time. It's very exciting. Speaking of exciting,
Yeah.
we guest up here.
Someone who was not expecting to be up here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, congratulations.
you.
We have Kathy joining us, winner of the individual finals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I honestly am very stunned. I was not expecting that.
So
but
talk us through why that is.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and watch your guys' replay.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that puzzle. It was a lot of fun, but it was challenging at the same time. So I don't know. One of the volunteers told me that I was one of the few who started with the orange versus the blue. It sounds
Yeah,
like blue
we
is
saw
very
that early.
popular, So
Yep. It was interesting because when you started that way, your sister started with the blue, and we actually made the comment, this is why they make a great pair, because they gravitate towards different areas
Colors,
to
yeah.
start. But yeah, everyone else pretty much started with the blue. You started with the orange, and then it didn't seem at first like you were a clear winner.
No.
But then all of a sudden we looked back and you had completed so much of the puzzle.
Yeah.
was quite
Talk us through how that unfolded. Like, how did you work your way around the puzzle? What were the highlights and what were the challenges?
Well, as we were just mentioning, I started with that big mushroom in the center because to me, it popped. It was
Right,
like that kind of
that bright
fiery
orange,
red
yeah.
orange. And then I did move to the blue next. So I think those were probably the two most popular spots is 1, 2 kind of
Yep.
areas.
Nice job, Beatrice.
Oh, that's so great. What a great time.
Yeah.
We're just having back-to-back finishes right now.
Yeah.
This is so cool. But yeah, and then so I just started to kind of work around. I did something I didn't normally do, and I did not do the frame first.
Yeah,
Edge, frame. I always call
we
it
saw
frame.
that was a fairly common strategy, actually. Is
Was
that
it?
A lot of
Okay.
people didn't, like most people did the kind of light and the bus.
Plus.
Yeah. as
Okay,
the
that does
first
make
step.
sense
Yeah.
then. Because the frame is a little more challenging on this one than typical. So
Yeah.
I only finished it right at, I think, the back quarter.
Now, you saved the left-hand side for last?
Yes, and I think I'm seeing everybody else
And
doing.
there's Becca.
There's Becca. Nice job, Becca.
Becca finished. Yeah.
I've seen everybody else kind of doing the same because it's very busy in there and a lot of the same colors, whereas through a lot of the other sections you can kind of see so there's some brights or some very clear plant life that is coming through.
Once we cut to you right near the end, though, you were really flying in that last area. Did you find that once you got to that and you didn't have all the other pieces to worry about, that it just kind of came together?
Yeah. For some reason, it just clicked for me today on this puzzle. I don't really know necessarily why, per se, but...
Sometimes the stars line up.
Yeah, and when you're right at the end there, and surprisingly, nobody is still called out, you're like, okay, I gotta go. So,
yeah. Does it make you feel like you have to, like you're
just
moving
waiting
even faster?
For that call. Yeah.
So I feel like, was it a couple of years ago, you guys had famously said that you were not individual players, and then was it like a year ago you started doing playing individually? Tell us a little bit about that story.
So there's a little bit of a kind of telephone chain to that story.
All right, help us unravel that.
So when our very first in-person competition in like 20 years was at the 2022 Nationals, and we didn't. Yay,
hey,
Sarah! We only signed up for pairs, and people were asking, do you guys not know? And we just didn't know. We didn't know enough people we didn't know anybody else to get a team, and we weren't sure about individuals. So we're like, well, let's just do pairs and see what happens, and. Somehow it came out of Nationals that it was because we don't like to compete against each other as individuals.
That's what I had heard, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not actually true.
That rumor got around.
No.
Yeah, the rumor was that you guys felt like you would be too competitive against each other.
No, I mean, there are house bragging rights, family bragging rights, but we aren't actually hardcore competitive against each other. It's a fun rivalry.
Yeah, and you get to take home the bragging rights today.
Yeah, she took them home earlier, so I get them today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that we benefit from having more than one writer out there in the individual, so it makes the competition all that much more fun to watch. You guys put on a great show, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well done.
Yeah, congratulations. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, we just got a lot of finishes in there.
Yeah. So it looks like we've got, we're going straight to the board. There's the AV folks reading my mind. So we've got Kathy and Jean Reuter finishing first and second. Jessa Douglas right on their heels. And then Jessica, and I can't remember.
Strites.
Strites, that's right. It was not how I was expecting it. Out of nowhere. I would say out of nowhere, but sort of creepingly towards the front over the course of the entire weekend. And so emerging only 20 seconds behind Jessa. And Andrea looks like is 3 seconds behind her.
Wow.
So the way that ended up is actually Andrea is slightly behind. And I talk about this level of competition, every little thing you can do to improve things matters, and it's because of things like this, right? 3 seconds is a huge difference. If you were slightly faster at sorting, easily 3 seconds there. So everything matters. And then Beatrice came in at sixth. It's about 2 minutes behind Andrea, Becca Taylor, and then Sarah Schuler is rounds out the top 8 so far. Yeah, and we're looking at moving around 8.5 pieces per minute. So again, if you think of yourself with a 100-piece puzzle, can you put together 8 pieces per minute, including getting it out of the box? I think if you give it a try, and I highly encourage it, it's a lot of fun, you'll find that it's tough, right? It's hard to move that fast. In my best times, I am not moving that fast. And so this is sort of matter of course for them.
We're looking at Daria here. She's making nice progress on this puzzle with about 50 minutes left to go.
Yep. Sporting the puzzle pants.
Yes.
And
the USA today, it looks like.
That's right. And then holding off on that left-hand side. And looking to see who else is moving out there. There's Irina.
Yeah.
And she looks like she's wrapping up. I'm actually kind of surprised how fast that last left-hand side comes together when people get around to doing it. And again, it's probably just because there's not very many pieces to look at, but I find those kinds of sections challenging. So even though you don't have many pieces left, it still doesn't mean that you obviously know where they go. And so I've been enjoying watching people just kind of slam those together.
One thing that I think this really illustrates too, watching this particular final against the heats, if you watch the preliminaries, is how much the puzzle does seem to make a difference. And it could be the piece count too. Obviously, this is a different piece count, so maybe some people do better at 300 versus 500. But the winners of the heats, 2 of the individual heats, seem to be struggling a little bit more with this puzzle.
Yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with the design. It is definitely true that as you increase the number of pieces, you don't increase the difficulty by the same amount. So if you went from 500 to 1,000, you're not doubling the difficulty. You're more than doubling the difficulty because if you had the same image but only in 1,000 pieces, you've got a lot more things that fill that same space, and you've got a lot more over the course of 1,000, a lot more edges that are pieces that need to come together to make something. So you can think about all the different combinations of pieces you have goes up by quite a lot. So that will have a lot to do with how fast people complete a puzzle. But as we've seen over the course of the individual heats where everybody was doing the same amount of the same puzzle count, there's a pretty substantial difference between the easiest and the hardest puzzles in terms of where people completed. And as we've been talking about this entire time, different people's skills match with different puzzles. And so if you have a puzzle that is deep in your sweet spot, then you can knock it out. And if you have a puzzle that hits some of the places that you're not as good at, it can take you a long time, even if you were amazing at the last round. That's why I was saying earlier, I think that this is what keeps Jigsaw puzzling exciting, is that the combination of person and puzzle has an impact on who's going to finish first. And so it's not a guarantee at any given time that whoever is the dominant person at the time is going to be the one who comes out on top. They may just have a unlucky draw for them.
Yep.
In terms of the overall puzzle.
Yep. Well, and I mean, look, the Reuter sisters, Kathy and Jean, they went 1-2 today here in the individuals. That did not equate to a first place finish in the duo finals.
Right.
They came in second in the duo finals. And the first place team individually didn't place in the individuals.
Yeah.
So it really is, number one, about how you work together, but then also about the puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, here we got Minnie coming to a close on her puzzle. Down to the last few pieces. It's always tricky if you're going to put the graphic on top of the puzzle. And just to be, I'm always having to double check to make sure there's not an open piece under there. Yeah.
Where's that piece?
Yeah, she's got a piece missing. So her 10-second timer starts now, where and it was on the board.
How
Yes.
much have we talked about that?
Well, first of all, nice job. She did a great job. But as something that always scares me, there's 2 things there that scares me. One is that if you put a piece on the puzzle, if you put a piece on the puzzle itself, we better be darn sure that it's in a highly contrasting area, because it is easy to lose a piece on the puzzle,
yes.
Especially if it's in the same area. And pieces might move around a little bit, so you might put it on a contrasting piece, like you might put a dark piece on that big white stripe, but you're moving the puzzle around as you're doing things, and so it may shift around. So there's some hazard there about putting a piece right on the puzzle. And it looks like we're missing a piece there too. So if that's true, she's got a 10-second timer probably starting. And so you're only penalized a maximum of 10 seconds for a missing piece. That way, it encourages you to go find the piece if you can find the piece. If you've legitimately just dropped it nearby, which we see a lot. I myself was having to fetch pieces that I accidentally tossed overboard yesterday. It happens. Pieces fall for any number of reasons. And so you want to give people a time incentive to go hunt that piece down, but not so much of a penalty that if they legitimately was a manufacturing defect, or they were just the puzzle has gone too far away for them to find, or in some magical place like under somebody's shoe, that you're not penalized for not finding it for very long. So you announce that you're done. You get a 10-second timer to find the piece. If you find it, then your time stops, and if you don't, it stops at 10 seconds.
So how much do you think fatigue could be setting in for some of these competitors who maybe aren't used to doing this much puzzling in this short amount of time? Because for some of these puzzlers, they already puzzled all day yesterday, competed all day yesterday, maybe competed this morning, and are now competing again this afternoon.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people who are practiced puzzlers are pretty good at managing their body and their fatigue and their standing. Folks like me who are just carelessly diving in with reckless abandon will find themselves suffering in a long series of puzzling competitions. There's a reason my nationals team was called Advil Up this last year, is because we're familiar with the backache that comes with constant puzzling. But I think the fatigue is definitely a real thing for everybody. It's another incentive to finish quickly. And if you don't have the right kind of ability to stand up or manage your kind of upper body strength, or importantly just your back, like standing up gives you an advantage of being able to see the whole puzzle, like we're seeing Susanna here doing. You get a lot of perspective. You can move faster. So sitting down can slow you down, especially in places where you might be moving fast. And so there can be an advantage. I find myself standing up and sitting down a lot over the course of a puzzle. While you're trying, you might be working on something local, and then you might stand up to get a bit broader perspective, and so not everybody stands the entire time. But yeah, again, it's sort of surprising how much physical fitness is a factor in competitive jigsaw puzzling.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen stretching, we've seen warming up before the event, so it's definitely not to be underestimated. Let's see. Right now we are looking at, I'm going to probably mess up her name. I don't know if it's Brianna or Brianna Haidloff. She's from Oregon.
Yeah, coming right down to the wire here.
She's almost done.
Oh, it looks like she's missing one.
She dropped a piece.
Yep, so they're getting her times going, but she
There we
found it.
go.
It's on the floor. It's actually fairly rare that you will find a puzzle that is
Great
in
job.
ships with a missing piece. But it definitely happens. I think you were saying that you've had pieces puzzles that were missing multiple pieces.
Yes. Whole sections somehow. And duplicate sections too.
Which is,
Yeah.
it's a much rarer phenomenon to
Yes.
have extra pieces.
And there we have Arena. We don't find it happening as much anymore, but I think when puzzles really took off during COVID and a lot of manufacturers had to maybe increase their production, I think maybe it was a little bit challenging then, but haven't had that in a while.
I do like the Irina is using one of these kind of plastic stands that allows you to insert your puzzle, but also has a little lip on it for putting the poster on the front. And it probably speaks to my lack of creativity that it didn't ever occur to me. Like there's the front side of this, and there's a slot in front of it that you can put a poster in. It never occurred to me to put the box in. When you have a poster, usually the posters are sort of floppy, but they tend to give you more detail. They're either bigger or they might show more of the puzzle than is actually on the box. And we saw, I think on Friday, somebody using a Cheerios box as a backer for this, and I just saw Irina just using the box as a backer, and I'm like, oh, great idea.
And here is Rebecca, the other half of Twin Sanity, that duo finals third place finishing team, finishing.
Congratulations to her, their first live competition. They seem like great folks, so I'm happy to see them having a good time and doing well.
Yeah, and she said this definitely won't be her last in-person puzzle competition.
That's right, the bug has caught her.
Yes.
Got a bunch of folks hanging off over the side here. See if we can drag one of them up here.
So you're not just listening to Rob and I talk for the next 40 minutes?
Yep, so we're an hour and 20 in, and actually we've cleared about a good chunk of the room. We're at probably 13 folks finishing at this point, and I didn't keep track at the beginning, but maybe we had 40 starting off on this round. So we're getting there.
Yeah, we did have 40. I think maybe we had one person unable to make it, so maybe it ended up being 39. But yeah,
made it to the finals, but you couldn't make the finals.
I know, sad.
There you see Rose taking a stab at something, finding it doesn't work, and moving on to the next thing. It's just what you got to do. And sometimes you have to jam those pieces in. Like a really good puzzle cut will be loose enough that it'll allow you to place pieces softly, but not so loose that the puzzle moves a lot, because you can get really loose cuts, and then as you're moving your hands around, like the puzzle moves like an inch side to side. You probably experienced this as you're testing a bunch of different puzzle companies' puzzles. So it's a fine balance to get a puzzle that you can speed puzzle well, because too tight of a puzzle, then you're having to really jam things in to get them into place, and too loose of a puzzle and everything's falling apart as you're trying. You can't pick up a section of pieces and move them very easily. I admire puzzle companies who are able to do that right.
So I love this. This is Soren Burns. And in addition to puzzling, she likes to do long distance backpacking, but she says that doesn't necessarily pair very well with puzzling.
Just toss a puzzle in the back. And, all right.
Pull it out.
There's Rose finishing up.
Great
nice job, Rose. Nice. Rose, you wouldn't necessarily know it from here, but Rose is generally a pretty quiet individual, as a lot of puzzlers are. But as a lot of puzzlers do, when you get them in the puzzling community and it's supportive and they know that they're capable of doing things, really come out of their shell. And Rose, we had her on the live stream earlier, and she, she's very articulate, very outspoken, and easily, advocates for the puzzle community. And it's really great to see, folks find their home in the puzzling community and open up and really become more of themselves.
We're looking at Daria now. She did participate in the nationals this year, came in 76th in the individuals and 48th in pairs, and 17th in teams.
Yeah, 48th in pairs is no joke, because you got a lot of people increasingly are going to nationals, and so there are a lot of heats, and so just getting to the finals is a big deal. And so you said 48th, is that right?
Correct.
So I think 48th puts you in the finals, and probably out of 100 in the finals, probably 200, 250 or more pairs. Not everybody chooses to go to the finals, and it's not just every random person. So it may sound like you're down a ways on the scoreboard, but actually that's an amazing achievement. I know, because I've gotten nowhere close to that. Yeah, there's Rose finishing 15th, right after Rebecca. So we got 23 minutes from the first to the 15th place right now. And we've got we're about an hour and about 23 minutes, a little over, an hour and 24 in. So we've got about 36 more minutes. And I think, given the pace that people are pacing at, it seems like we'll see a lot of folks complete, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I think we should see a majority of puzzlers finish today, which is always fun. Here's Tara Griffiths. She was part of the Team Slay pairs earlier today.
That's right. I love that.
Yeah. She's making good progress through this puzzle.
Yeah, again, she's got that left side, although she's got a couple of groups there where she's already making some progress. And I'm seeing a lot of that kind of right-hand side, and I guess that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, where we're seeing Soren here just kind of place a piece, that right-hand side, not too different from the left-hand side in terms of it's got some of the same things going on. It's got a lot of the same, it's got its own set of sort of stem going from top to bottom, and it's a lot of the same color there. So
looks like we're about to see two finishes.
Yep, here's Zin. Yep. Yep, coming down. She's got those last few pieces in. The adrenaline kicks in. You're about done here. You're concerned that somebody else might be done here soon. And away you go. Team Puzzle Sharks. I think they have 5 representatives.
I was going to ask about that because she did not puzzle with them yesterday as a Puzzle Shark team member.
No, she has been on their team in the kind of Portland competition, as we see Soren finish. But I think that there are a number of folks on that team, and I think that Zin fills in from time to time, I think is how that works. And she shows up. So she's a peripheral member. Hopefully, I don't have that terribly wrong. But I know that she, as you said, she was not part of the Sharks here. They have a usual group of folks who show up when they show up as the Puzzle Sharks.
Here we have Kelly Wesley, also known as Minty Fizz. online.
I saw one of her puzzles for the first time today, and they are beautiful and terrifying.
They're beautiful. They're actually really, really fun to puzzle.
Yeah, I think she said that they're not really built for speed puzzling, and I could see why. Like it was, I mean, there's a whole class of people who would speed puzzle the heck out of her puzzles because they're beautiful and they have a lot of color gradients, and there are people who love that. I just looked at that puzzle and I'm like, oh goodness. My wife, on the other hand, was like, yes, this is my jam.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, we'll get that, and I will partial sort that for you.
Yeah, if
then you're on your
done-
own.
Yeah, so she actually does her own artwork. So she takes her art and turns it into these puzzles, Minty Fizz puzzles. And if you haven't puzzled one of her puzzles before, they have a really nice matte finish. So it's really
I love a
nice.
good matte finish.
Yeah, it's really nice in the light. So you can see here, this has a more glossy finish. To each their own. I personally love the matte.
Do you see a lot of you get to experience a wide variety of puzzle companies and puzzle types? Do you see a lot of matte finish?
It's kind of split, and we're seeing a lot of the newer companies that are coming out with the matte finish and also the soft touch finish.
Yes, like
which
a soft
I
touch.
personally am a very tactile person, and so I love that soft touch finish that quite a few of these new companies are coming out with. But hers are that matte finish, and they're also very thick pieces. So they fit together. They fit together really, really
Cool.
well.
We had
Sorry,
somebody trip out on
we
the
just
field,
had
a volunteer go down.
trip.
Hopefully
We're
she's
making
all
sure-
right.
Yeah, we're making sure she's okay.
So
But yeah,
do
her
you
puzzles are great.
do you find that you can have a matte finish and still maintain the vibrancy of the colors?
Yeah. There's no. You mean with multiple uses over time?
Well, I was just thinking in general. Like I can imagine, you think of a kind of gloss finish as being maybe wrongly like sort of a brighter color.
Oh, sure. I see what you're saying.
But
I think that
obviously,
there's still some pretty. I mean, her puzzles.
I was
I
going to
think
say
are
if
actually
Kelly's
a great
making
example.
that choice.
No, I think her puzzles are. Yeah.
They're all color.
Yep. I think that's a. I mean, hers are very vibrant and bright. Maybe you don't get quite the same pop as you get here, but yeah, there's some. So yeah, there's I think quite a few brands now that are doing the matte finish, and they have pretty bright and colorful images.
I'm a fan of the matte finish because it stands up to a lot of different lighting scenarios, and you can never tell what kind of lighting scenario you're going to have. Like here, where they've done a great job of trying to provide a lot of extra lighting and a lot of visibility. Still, there's a lot of shadows being cast. You can see there's some harsh shadows here on the right of that. I didn't catch who that was. So you're constantly battling light in a competition like this. And so having a matte puzzle is nice because it just stands up to a whole bunch more lighting environments where you're not casting dark and not being able to see, and you're not getting these bright kind of glows from the lights reflected on your puzzle. Yesterday I was having to do a lot of moving my head around so that I could see, like get the glare into different parts of the puzzle away from where I was working so that I could see what the colors were and what the patterns were.
Yeah. So one brand that really like is called Unified Pieces. Have you heard of them?
No.
So they're out of the Bay Area, and they do the soft touch with the matte finish, but they do very bright. And not all of their puzzles are super bright because it's according to the piece of art, but some of them are very, very bright, even on that softer matte finish.
Anita Prum here with one of my favorite team names, the Elephant in the Prum. I love anything that takes the person's names and goes with it. We had London Bridges from the competitors whose last name was London. All puns are welcome as far as I'm concerned.
And here's Kelly again. Looks like she's about to complete that puzzle.
That's pretty late in the conversation for you to bring that up. I heard it come up earlier, but
Couldn't help myself.
no, you shouldn't help yourself. I love that you have a brand that fits itself so naturally into conversations like this. Yes.
Oh, it's so
yes.
satisfying.
Get it, girl.
So satisfying.
Nice. Oh, I like the colorful rainbow necklace
Yes.
she's got there, too. Nice job, Kelly.
Great work.
So I put Kelly about 18th, I think. How are we doing out on the field? All right, we still got a fair amount of folks out there.
With just under half an hour to go.
Looking to see if I can see where people are relative to how much time we have left. Seems like most people are tracking.
I was trying to see if anyone had decided to start with that left side, but we have yet to see anyone make that decision.
No, yeah. You in here working on the left-hand side. Yeah, I was saying before, like, it is definitely advantageous to put the reference image on top of the puzzle because it puts it right in your field of view. But I'm always checking 2 or 3 times, make sure there's nothing under that I didn't accidentally cover something that needs to, an empty hole where a puzzle piece needs to go. Yeah, and she's moving all the puzzle pieces around so they're in her line of sight directly between the box and the puzzle, getting them out from underneath her hands so that she can more directly see what she's looking for and get at it.
Yep.
We saw some people yesterday with some sort of spread out clusters near the end, and this is the way that I typically like to see things, is that it's efficient to grab. You want to keep them apart enough that you can tell the shapes apart, that you can see the individual pieces that are in there, but close enough so that you're not having to go looking around a wide field of view, going back and forth between a bunch of different things. Now, if you watched me puzzle yesterday at all, you will find that everything I have said, I did the opposite of. So more of a do as I say, not as I do, because we had pieces everywhere. We ended up shape sorting the pairs puzzle probably halfway through, which is, like, you're in deep trouble if you're shape sorting that early.
A lot of people shape sorted that puzzle.
Oh, I'm sure.
A lot. And when we spoke to a lot of the pairs, they actually said they should have even shape sorted sooner, they think, from yesterday's heat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Now we're looking, let's see.
You can't see Elenia doing this, but we have to look out on the field and count tables, and she's got a little grid here that says where everybody is, and she's like 3 tables over to the right and 4 tables back.
We're looking at Emma Ropes, and we just had a finish by
like Ashley Osborne?
Yeah, Ashley Osborne. Great job, Ashley. I think we're going to have a couple finishes coming up here real soon. So we have Emma again.
At 16th and 17th, we're only apart by 16 seconds. So even as you go, the competition is tight. Every last second makes a difference. That's interesting. You don't usually see a box holder inside the box.
When you get down to those last pieces, it's just, I just want to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's amazing how you can have a piece and you know where it goes, but you don't know the orientation.
Yes.
And so you're just like, I know it goes right here. It's maybe got like 4 knobs on it. And so you're just like stick, turn, stick, turn, stick, turn. And if you're anything like me, it's always the last orientation that before it goes in. But your brain knows where it goes, but your brain doesn't always know how it goes there.
Just had a couple finishes off screen.
Couple of back-to-backs.
So we had UN finish. I love it. She told me yesterday or Friday, she was like, it's not you lose, it's you win. I loved that. And then it looks like we also had finishing Marissa Martin from that Puzzle Sharks team. And then there we have Emma, who just finished. So those are all real close.
Good job, Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
And Emma as well. And you can see in the background that we've got some audience members hanging out watching the puzzle go. A lot of folks will stick around even when they're done and cheer on the rest of the folks. We often see the biggest cheers for the people who are coming across the table last, which I always find heartening.
Here's Cosmo Smith about to finish up.
Yeah, and this is one of those places where you're probably doing this as well out there in the audience, but you see they've got 5 or 6 pieces left, and you're like, obviously this piece goes here. Pick up this piece over here and put it there. But as you're looking at the puzzles, you've got you're looking at a lot of things simultaneously. So a person who walks up and sees one piece, it can be like exasperating for that person, but you're focused on so many other pieces simultaneously that you don't necessarily see that one piece
Caroline,
that a standard buy will see.
She's missing a piece.
She's missing a piece, so
there it is.
Oh, that was easy.
Great job, Caroline.
Nice.
And Cosmo, they finished almost at the exact same time, it looked like.
Yeah, they did.
Look at that. It's really quite amazing how close some of these finishes are.
Now, I'm enjoying the fact that we've got a bunch of folks who have finished who are now getting together and doing a puzzle.
Sarah just finished there.
Sarah Gelke. Nice job, Sarah. So you can see, it looks like Becca and maybe Kathy and can't quite see Mingy over there putting together a puzzle.
Already they haven't puzzled enough this weekend.
Some of the folks in the back corner putting together a puzzle, like they're finished, but they just busted out a new puzzle, and that's pretty common. You'll see people bust out, like finish a round, and then get together and put together a puzzle.
And it looks like Daria here is about to finish. Maybe she'll start puzzling again as soon as she's finished.
It could be. When we went to St. Paul, the Winter Carnival in St. Paul, which is a huge puzzle competition, my team competed all day and then went back to the hotel and went down to the lobby and found a table and put together some puzzles.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Puzzler's going to be puzzling.
Hey, every day I'm puzzling.
That's right.
If you've seen these Everyday I'm Puzzling shirts that we've been wearing every day and you want to get one for yourself, you can check them out on our website, completingthepuzzle.com.
Yeah.
Great job, Daria.
Yeah. I remember seeing those shirts at the first Nationals.
Yes.
And they were already everywhere. And so I feel like I see the Everyday I'm Puzzling shirts all over the place.
We actually started them as like a giveaway for our members.
Oh, all right.
And then they became so popular so fast, we started selling them because people asked.
Now, you said something yesterday that sort of blew my mind, which is that you have some folks who've done tens of puzzles through, like just large numbers of puzzles through completing the puzzle.
Yes, we have some members who have done over 100 puzzles with us, well over, which is super fun to see. So if you're a member, you do get to see your puzzle history. It's all, if you log into your account, you can see all the puzzles you've done. You can see our entire catalog and add puzzles to your wish list. And so, within there, you can see when and where you completed a puzzle. And
When and where?
Sorry, shouldn't say where.
All right.
When.
Guys.
It does show you when, though.
We got about
Thank
20
you. It's
minutes
been a very
to go.
long
20 minutes to
weekend.
go. And we're going to have the awards right after.
Well, technically, it does show you where.
Does it?
Well, if you know where you live. Assuming you did it at your house. Yeah. It shows you where it shipped to.
All right.
Because it does show your shipping history as well, so you can track your puzzle.
I see.
Yep.
But you're probably not updating your shipping history to follow you on your travels all around the country.
You're probably not. And honestly, with this new, this new mailer, it actually makes it quite easy if you want to take it with you on a trip or something. So if you're traveling around, you can just put your puzzle right in here and take it with you. So.
Right, and then you just drop it wherever you are.
Yep.
In the mail.
Yep, you can drop it in the mail and not even have to take it back home with you first.
Right, and then when you get home, there might be a new puzzle waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Hey.
Great job, Anita. Here's Joyce, our good friend. Joyce Yu.
Every day she is also puzzling, according to her shirt.
Yes. And if you want to watch some really fun puzzle content, follow her, Joyce.puzzles, on Instagram. She creates just really fun puzzle videos.
Yeah, and Joyce is just a nice person to talk to as well.
Yeah.
what's funny is a lot of the folks in the puzzling community are sort of introverts like myself, quiet. And so, like, they don't look like they're looking to be talked to. And often I'm, like, just trying to respect people's space. But I have found that 201, if you start talking, like, they just open right up. And they're like they're here having the same passion that you are. And they will. And I feel like Joyce is one of those people where I'm like, I'm not always sure she wants to talk, but as soon as I start talking to her, she opens right up and off we go.
Here's Tara about to finish. I think there's a misconception. So I'm also an introvert. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, from a very extroverted family. And I think there's a little bit of a misconception.
Nice.
Great job.
Slade.
About introverts, though, that we don't like to talk to people. I love talking to my best friend. I love talking to my sister.
Right.
I love talking to people one-on-one. Large crowds are very intimidating for me and very exhausting. And, you know, it's very tiring. You know, after this 3-day event, I'll go hibernate and read books and puzzle by myself for a while. But I think that, you know, for a lot of introverts, it's like having one-on-one conversations is great. It's more the group aspect that can be just really a lot.
Yeah, and it helps even more to have a topic that we're all passionate about.
100% agree. So talking about puzzles, perfect.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the folks on the puzzling scene are like, talk to me about puzzles all day. I will 100% do that. And I consider myself sort of dabbling my toes in the water of jigsaw puzzling because I'm mostly here for the kind of competitive aspect of it. But a lot of people are really deep in the puzzling. They have artists they love. They have manufacturers they love. They are collecting puzzles from various eras. I know that a bunch of folks who flew into town went thrift shopping yesterday for puzzles and came away with a bunch of puzzles. You know, just because they're in town and they're obsessed, and they found something that completes a collection or adds to it. And so puzzling people can get really deep into this hobby.
Looks like Joyce.
Where they find the place to store all that stuff is beyond me.
I do not know. Joyce is coming up to finish this puzzle. Joyce did tell me she hasn't been speed puzzling much lately, but she's definitely completing this one like a champ. Great job, Joyce.
I like the 2-finger jam right at the end. Like I'm owning this. Like, this is the last piece, and I'm going to show it who's boss.
We have just over 15 minutes remaining. Here's Allison Stormo with 1 L.
Yeah, from Team Puzzle Storm.
Puzzle Storm, yep.
Which is, I think,
Play on
both the
that
folks
name.
of the, Ryan and Allison Stormo on Team Puzzle Storm.
How many competitors do we have remaining? We're getting a lot of finishes.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
10. Looks like about 10.
That's great.
15 minutes left. Then right
And-
after this, I think folks they're going to do the award ceremony. I don't know that we're live streaming the awards, right?
We won't be,
right.
but if you've been with us all weekend, we really appreciate you being here with us through all the puzzling. And, you know, we really have had so much fun watching it. We hope you've had as much fun watching it as we have. I know this has been a blast for us. Big shout out to the AV team here at Avenue. They've done a fantastic job with this event, so really can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth plugging the volunteers again. Things like this don't happen without a boatload of volunteers. Andrew was talking about that earlier when he was on. Volunteers are the backbone, and it is amazing how many people come out to volunteer for this. And in fact, when we went to nationals for the first time, we were only competing in, I think, the pairs, just the pairs, yeah. And so we volunteered to do some timekeeping for individuals, and you get to get right up close and see the people doing what they do best, and it can be a great experience. It's a lot of fun. It's like there are moments where it's fairly hectic as people's times come in, but I would strongly recommend volunteering at a competition like this, even if you're not interested in competing, because it's a great way of being a part of the community and seeing a lot of what's going on close up, and that can be a lot of fun.
Here's Shannon Gray about to finish. She was on, I believe, Puzzle 911 earlier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you
the
can see
duos.
the shirt there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much detail in this puzzle. Like, it is definitely one where the farther away we are, the more I'm like, yeah, I could do that puzzle, and the more we zoom into these details, and I'm like, oh no, that's tough.
So if you've been watching all weekend and you want to test your skills at home against all of these puzzlers you've been watching, there's actually a really cool thing you can do. They've put together a puzzle bundle that has
right.
one of every puzzle that was part of this weekend's Portland Jigsaw Masters competition, and you can purchase it at portlandpuzzles.com and get one of each, and then you could go on portlandjigsawmasters.org, check out the times, and see how you compare. You think you'll be trying this puzzle?
I might, actually. Like, it's daunting. Shannon's got a piece missing there. Nice job, Shannon.
There you go. Great job, Shannon.
But it is colorful and fun and engaging. I love the fact that they put together a package of all the puzzles and they can just ship it out to you. It is definitely a lot of fun doing a puzzle that has known times on it, so that you can go see, like, how would I have done in this? You might find that especially if people have told you that you're a fast jigsaw puzzler, or maybe in anger because they don't want to go fast, that you can see, like, how am I actually fast compared to other folks out there? How do I do? How would I have done in a competition like this, especially a competition like this that has a wide variety of participants? Like, all the heats go back to, the folks like me who are at the sort of tail end, to the hyper elite folks at the top end of everything. You can grab one of those puzzles and see, okay, well, where do you fit into this entire list? They can be sort of exhilarating to see, or some reality adjusting if you're me. But it's definitely I think an intriguing thing people should try. And it's an easy way, like you said, to get an idea of, like, is this something I enjoy? Am I competitive? Do I want to compete?
I think we're back on Allison Stormo now, getting close to finishing.
Yeah, she can't because puzzling.
I know, I need that shirt.
Uh-huh.
Anytime Brian asks me to do anything, I'm just going to say, sorry, can't, puzzles. Bye.
Yeah, I don't get away with that in my house.
I don't think it would go very well in mine either. She's very close now.
Yeah, as we come up onto the 10-minute mark. Yeah, it's going to put us at 32 folks, which means that we have got like 6 or 7 left out there in the field.
So Allison says she loves gradient puzzles, so I'm sure this was a little more challenging for her. There's not a ton of gradient in there, a little bit. Great job, Allison.
Yeah, I feel like if gradients are your jam, that there's something for you in this puzzle.
There's a little bit. I think it would be a little difficult, though, because it's so busy.
It is pretty busy. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I think there's a little bit for everybody in this one, and maybe a little bit of challenge for everybody in this one.
Yeah. There's Emily. We talked to her at the beginning of the live stream, the casual puzzler, and
Casually puzzling.
She's making great progress.
Yeah.
Just under 10 minutes to go. There's Joanne Tustison. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but
She is also puzzling every day, according to her shirt.
I would imagine a lot of the people here are puzzling every day. What do you think?
I think that's probably right. Yeah, I think if you're the kind of person who finds yourself like doing a puzzle while watching TV or like listening to a podcast or something on a regular basis, and especially if you find that like that's your way of unwinding. I think trying to go fast could be an interesting change of pace. Like we've talked about before, not everybody loves that. Why would you go and destroy a nice, relaxing hobby that I have by trying to make it competitive? But you never know.
Yeah, for me, puzzling is such a stress reliever at the end of busy, stressful days. So I don't know if I would really enjoy it. I've done one speed puzzling competition, did not train, just kind of dropped in with my best friend. And
which one was that?
It was the Texas State.
Oh, right.
2 years ago, not this year, but the year before, I guess last year. And it was fun. We had a good time, but definitely didn't prepare in any way, had zero strategy going in. And
I would love for somebody to show up at a competition with a bottle of wine.
I was so. Speaking of this particular competition, we did it at the. Was it the VA hall? It was, I think, the VA hall, and they actually did have a bar, and so I may have had an adult beverage.
I just think it sets the tone of how you are if you show up like you roll up to a table and you put a bottle on the table.
Yeah, I mean,
we're just here. We're here for a different reason.
Speaking of, what Allie was saying when she tested after one glass of wine, I'm sure I think I had a beer. I don't think that beer necessarily improved my performance. It was not a performance-enhancing beer.
But was it an experience-enhancing beer?
I think so.
Well done. And
Great job,
if we've
Joanne.
got folks who don't make it all the way to the end, then they'll be counting out their pieces that they have left, and we'll see the leaderboard will be populated by folks who finished after the time, with the people who had the fewest number of pieces left at the top of that section. And so the way that you do that is that you look for any pieces that aren't connected in groups of 3 or more, and those are the pieces that you count as left over. And so if you're near the end and it makes sense, sometimes you want to shift to a clustering strategy where you're just trying to create groups of 3 or more. We may not have much of that going on here. There's,
No.
especially if you're down here where Emily is, where you're really at a handful of pieces. Probably there's not a lot of clustering to be had there, and you're probably better off just trying to jam these pieces in. But just as a note that when the time expires, everybody else still qualifies, still gets ranked and scored, and so every last piece counts all the way through to the very end. Is this Janelle Mitchell of the famous Mitchell Machine?
Mitchell Machine. Love it. I love good alliteration, too.
Yeah. Mother-son team that we saw competing in the pairs earlier.
Looks like we
Did
have
quite well in the
someone
pairs.
about to finish over here. Coming up.
Oh, yeah.
John, I think,
Yep.
is about to finish.
John's a local competitor here in Portland. He got into puzzling through a friend who is an avid puzzler. So he wasn't necessarily an avid puzzler, but he's taken on the mantle and actually enjoys it. He's a very friendly, dynamic individual. Always up to chat about whatever and
He's been
tell
volunteering
you how
as
good
well.
job you're doing.
Yeah, and
And,
helping out with the event.
It's positive spirit in the community. Nice job, John.
Great job.
Like he's got an Iron Man shirt on, which speaks to like the physical fitness that he brings to this.
Yes. Here's Kelly.
We got a puzzle party going on in front of us here with some of the folks who've completed the puzzles already.
Looks like we have Jessica, who is about to finish as well.
She's got a ways to go.
Sorry, not Kelly.
Sorry, Kelly,
I'm
yep.
looking at a different screen. We have, for those of you at home, you don't get the vantage point that we get, where we have 4 different screens.
Yeah.
Sorry, sometimes it's confusing if I'm
No.
calling stuff that's off screen.
Yep. You're 100% right. She's finishing.
There we go. Here's Jessica.
Yeah, and again, like for
Great
me,
job.
just finishing in the time is awesome all by itself.
Great job, Jessica.
You see that she's happy to be done. Takes a lot of energy to keep going all that way through.
Well, and not just the physicality, but also the brain focus for that long. I mean,
That's true,
you're
yeah.
keeping focus for almost 2 hours in this case.
Yeah, it does, like, for certain people, it puts you in the zone, right? Like, the rest of the world sort of fades into the background, and you can just kind of hyper focus on the puzzle for a while. For other folks, it does, like, there's constantly other things vying for your attention, and so maintaining focus can take a lot of energy. And then there's the emotional component of it, where, you know, like we were talking about the trough of despair earlier, like, you're really trying to keep your own stamina, internal dialogue going, so that you can plow through to make it to the end. And it looks like Emily's just right on the cusp, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for her as Lane comes up to make an announcement.
Okay, a little more than 3 minutes to go. So hang in there.
Don't hang in there. Get that.
You got to go
Actually,
faster.
about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Get in there. Get it done.
Get it done. Get it done. Looks like Emily, the casual puzzler, is going to have to not be quite so casual at these end pieces.
That's right.
She's getting it done.
She looks like she's pacing to get that all completed.
Nope, she's got some pieces on top of the puzzle.
She does.
We've talked about how scary that can be.
That's right.
She's got those in.
Yeah, it's really easy to forget that you have pieces hanging out on top of a puzzle. So, especially if you're constantly changing around and you're like, I'm moving from something difficult to some, like this part I'm working on is a little too difficult, I'm going to pick up something else. Some of the context that you had when you moved to something else, like those pieces, might sort of drift away from your attention. And so if you have a piece that left on top, then you might forget all about it. There we go. Casual puzzler.
Emily.
Coming across the line in time.
Just about a minute and a half to go.
Nice job, Emily.
Great job.
She's going to do a puzzle lift. All right. Taking pictures.
We have a few puzzlers left. Looks like we might have one more finisher in time. Janelle's still working through. Looks like she's going to have to count her pieces to get her placement.
Looks like we got another person who might be coming across the line.
Michaela Newman. Yeah, she's going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Go, Michaela.
Go, Michaela, go. Oh, look at that. Just under a minute.
Oh, you got it.
Don't stop now.
Looks like she's got one more off to the side. Yes.
Great job, Michaela.
Nice job, Michaela. It could be sort of panic-inducing when you're right at the end and somebody's announced a certain amount of time and you're like, I got 3 pieces left and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them in there, and you don't actually know how much time is left. It could be sort of panic-inducing trying to put the last ones in there.
We have less than 30 seconds to go. Janelle.
Look at that delightful blue and yellow check pattern in the background.
Oh, look at that. I know. Our new bright branding.
Okay, guys, we're counting down here. We got about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Nice job, everybody. All right, that brings us to the end of the individual finals of the Portland Jigsaw Masters 2024.
And the end of the Portland Jigsaw Masters. I am a little sad, Rob.
Yeah, well, I as am I. I think I had a great time. I appreciate you bringing me up here and allowing me to be in your presence while we do this. You've been a great co-host, and I deeply appreciate that. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do this again in 2025.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you want to check out all the final results, go to portlandjigsawmasters.org for the final results. And again, I'm Elenia Cater, and joining me was
Rob Shields.
Happy puzzling.
Take care, everybody.